It's from Majjhima Nikaya number 28, okay, the great discourse on the simile of the elephant footprint. And this is how the structure of the sutra lay out. Sariputta starts from emphasize the Four Noble Truths, which we just talked about it, and then he subtract the Four Noble Truths. He just take the first Noble Truth, which is dukkha. And when he talk about dukkha, he point to the five aggregates directly, target the five aggregates. And then in these five aggregates, he take the first aggregate, which is form. You see how he slowly break it down. As you study something that smaller and smaller, you start have more insight into that smaller thing, right? Instead of study 4, you study 1. Then you have more understanding about that one thing. And then in this form, okay, form come with there is something called the 4 elements, right? Earth, water, wind, fire. And Sariputta take just one element to focus. From the earth elements, okay, he show us how these earth elements cannot be considered us, cannot be considered I, cannot be considered me, mine. And once you see this, you have nothing to cling on. Then you let go. When you let go, you might come back. You will meditate much better. Okay, this is the picture. Start from the Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths, and he stick with the first Noble Truth, which is the dukkha. And then he explains the idea of the five aggregates. And in this five aggregates, which is composed of 5 things, right? The form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. And then he stick with number one item, the first item in the 5 aggregates, which is form. And then he divided into 4 areas, which is earth, water, fire, and air. And then he start explaining the earth elements in detail. Very beautiful. That means Sariputta happened to be a very smart monk. He see it through how 5 aggregate is suffering by related to these 4 great elements. Okay? And at the end of this teaching, he point to the dependent origination. And if we start from the bottom up, we will get excited about this sutra, because this is the relationship between the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination. Then you start seeing a clearer picture. And when we talk about the second Noble Truth, which is the tanha, or the cause of craving, what causes us suffering? The explanation of the second Noble Truth point to the dependent origination. This is the whole mess of suffering. It's come from ignorance, go all the way up to tanha, and then clinging, and then birth, rebirth, and old age, death, and sickness. Right? The one who see dependent origination see the Dhamma. The one who see the Dhamma see dependent origination. Does it sound familiar to the last teaching? No. When you see Dhamma, you see me, right? When you see me, you see Dhamma. So is dependent origination and the Dhamma and the Buddha, are they the same thing? They point to the same thing? Interesting. And these 5 grasping aggregates are indeed dependent originated. You see how smart of Sariputta. The desire, adherence, attraction, attachment for these 5 aggregates is the origin of suffering, which is samudaya. Giving up and get rid of this desire, greed for these 5 aggregates of grasping is the cessation of suffering, which is nirodha. In this teaching, he did not talk about the Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path. So without you knowing the Eightfold Path, you can still understand the dukkha and can be liberated too, just by understanding this teaching. That's why this is one of the masterpieces of Sariputta. So at this point, much has been done by that bhikkhu. If you understand this much, okay, this much has been done by you by understanding the teaching of the Buddha already. So you will not cling on anything by in these 5 aggregates. This sentence is very important. It tells us that even though the clinging on the 5 aggregates cause us suffering, but this dukkha or this suffering it depends. Okay? It depends on something. Like I said, dukkha doesn't all of a sudden fall off from the sky and then you become suffering, right? Same thing with happiness. Whether dukkha or sukha, suffering or happiness is come with cause. It depends on something. And now Sariputta try to point us to what caused this, what dukkha depend on, what exactly that the dukkha depend on. It depends on the 5 grasping of aggregate. And why we cling on that, okay, we'll get to know in a moment. The desire, adherence, attraction, okay, attachment to this is the origin of suffering. This is tanha or craving. Yes?
So when he's talking about the Dhamma, he's talking about the 5 aggregates?
Who?
Sariputta,
Mm-hmm.
when he mentioned about Dhamma, one of his Dhammas is dependent origination. So is Dhamma the same as the 5 aggregates?
I think you can look at it that way, because Dhamma is the truth.
Right.
The truth in this case is the truth that we cling on the 5 aggregate, and that is why you are suffering. Dukkha, we become suffering because we cling on this. So here we see some picture. The reason we are suffering because our dukkha, we cling on this 5 aggregate. This is the cause of suffering. And if you let go, give up, then you will be free. Nirodha means fully extinct, distinguished. You let go all of those grasping, those desire. If you can do this, this is a lot already. Okay, this is good already for you as a person who ordained. And this one also in the handout. Okay, the footprint of all creatures that walk can fit inside the elephant footprint. And elephant footprint is said to be the biggest of them all. And in the same way, all the skillful quality can be included in the Four Noble Truths. This can also translate in several meanings as well. Okay, the skillful quality, what does it mean? You heard about the word about kusala. Kusala or kuson. Kusala, akusala. When the monk do the chanting, Abhidhamma chanting, kusala is something wholesome, something good, right? If you think of something good, the wholesome quality of the teaching of the Buddha, anything at all that you can think of, you can name one until 1,000 items, all of this will be fit into the footprint of the elephant, which is the Four Noble Truths. Because the Four Noble Truths, it helps someone to break through the cycle of suffering, right? It's the path to free ourselves from suffering. So we need to develop more kusala, more wholesome quality into our life, whether precept, whether meditation, whether study Dhamma, can be anything. And it can be the teaching of the Buddha as well. One meaning of kusala is the teaching, the good teaching. So the good teaching of the Buddha can fit into the Four Noble Truths, the wholesome teaching, the good Dhamma. That distance ourselves away from the defilements and take us closer to Nibbana, toward Nibbana. The noble truth of suffering, dukkha, the origin of suffering, samudaya, the cessation of suffering, nirodha, and the practice that lead to the cessation of suffering, which is the makkha. You have seen this already here. This is what Sariputta just mentioned, dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and makkha. But what interesting here is, this is how Sariputta explained dukkha, which is not exactly the same as the Buddha explained earlier. And what is the noble truth of suffering or dukkha? He said rebirth. Okay, actually, some translators use the word birth. Birth means rebirth. Okay, rebirth is suffering. Old age is suffering. Death is suffering. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, distress are suffering. Not getting what you want is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates of grasping are suffering. And now he explained what are the 5 aggregates. So here he explained dukkha, which is not exactly the same as the Buddha explained. When the Buddha explained, there are 8 items. But when Sariputta explained this thing missing, sickness, separation, associated with unpleasant, they are not included here. There may be a reason, okay, why the information is not the same as the Buddha teach earlier. But he ended up the same thing to strengthen what the Buddha emphasized earlier, that the 5 aggregates, okay, clinging on the 5 aggregates are the root cause of suffering. And then he explained what are the 5 aggregates. Grasping aggregate has form, grasping on feeling, grasping on perception, mental formation, and consciousness. So this may be new to some of us about the concept of the five aggregates. And surprisingly, in the Buddhist text, I believe that this is the most topic that the Buddha teach in his time. He teach about five aggregates. There are many sutras in Khanta Sangyutta Nikaya. There's more than 150 sutras that talk about these five aggregates. So that means this topic is very important, because this is the cause of suffering. If we don't understand the cause of suffering, we will cling on these five aggregates, and then we will end up suffering, not only in this lifetime, but for a very long time. So if you don't know much about five aggregates, I suggest you to get back and study this concept more. The Sariputta, after he explained the five aggregates, that is form, feeling, perception, right, cognition and consciousness, and then he he subtract the form. He explained that form comes from these four things, four elements. There are something called the four great elements. And what is the grasping aggregate of form? The four primary elements or the four great elements. We exist because of these four elements. What are the four elements? Earth element, water element, fire element, and air element. It makes human being. When you chant Kesa Loma Nakha Thanajayo, you reflect on body form. This is the earth element. And earth has, this is the characteristic of the earth element. It's solid, right? Something solid, something hard and something soft in the body. The meat, also earth element. The bone, the teeth, the nail, the hair. Okay, this is earth element. And water element, something liquid, something flow, okay, something cohesive. The fire element, you think of temperature, okay, hot or cold. The air element, something in motion, okay, expansion or contraction. This is the nature of the air element, which everyone I think can relate it to. And in some other sutra, the Buddha talk about 6 elements, not just 4. And in this case, Sariputta only stick with the 4 great elements, okay, earth, water, fire, air. These make us human beings. We need to maintain the balance of this element. We need to eat food, we need to keep on breathing, we need to drink water, we need to put the clothes on to make sure that these 4 elements are in balance. Otherwise, we will get sick or we may die. If you stop eating, you stop drinking, the body cannot stand. Okay? All right. And here he goes on. And what is the earth element? Earth element, there are 2 things, interior earth element and exterior earth elements. Okay, let's clarify here. What is meant by interior? Interior is something in the body. Bone, teeth. Here, all of these are interior. Here, head hair, body hair, nail, teeth, skin, flesh, nail, bones, bone marrow, kidney, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, undigested food, feces, or anything else, hard, solid, and appropriate. That's internal. This is internal earth element. Okay, so what is external? What is external elements? External is anything in this world outside your body. This is earth, something solid, right? Water over there, air over there, right? The fire, the temperature out there underneath the sun. The idea that Sariputta wants us to, he wants us to understand that we as an individual here, we compose of the 4 great elements. Just like everything else in the whole world, the tree, the stone, they compose of these 4 elements as well. He tried to point to the direction that's where is actually called you, called me, called I, where is your permanent self. Okay? This is called the interior earth elements. The interior earth element and the exterior earth element, they are just the element. They are just the element. They are not you. You are not them. This should be truly seen with the right understanding, like this is not mine, I am not this is not myself. When you truly see the right understanding, again, right understanding is right view, you will dispassionate, disillusioned with the earth element, detaching the mind from the earth element. You will detach if you see that, okay, you and this element and outside element is the same. When we eat food, where food come from? The plants grow from the tree. It take nutrition from underneath the ground. It become vegetable. Vegetable get water, right? Get temperature, get air, get nutrition. It become vegetable. Same thing with rice. Same thing with everything we eat. And then we eat that element, that four element. We eat that vegetable, and now it become our element. And then we go toilet. We let go. We return it to the nature. We return the element to the nature. Same thing with this body. When the body break, in Thailand they cremate the body. The body get burned. It become the ash, and we throw the ash to the tree. The element go back to the tree. The tree absorb the ash, which is used to be a man, and the tree grows, maybe banana, and someone eat that banana, and that ash go to the banana. Banana go to another man body. You see how we are related to the nature. We're not different. Outside and inside, exterior, interior, we know different. This is deep though. And he said there are times that when the exterior and earth elements vanish to this great edge. This is what Sariputta tried to explain, that there will be time that the earth element is also impermanent. You think of this planet Earth. In one particular sutra, the Buddha talked about, there is a sutra called Sun Sutta. Eventually, in the very far future, there will be 7 suns. One sun is not hot enough, right? What happened when there is actually 7 suns in the universe? This planet Earth will break apart, will fall apart. It's too hot. No human being will survive. No living being will survive. So we, as a tiny particle comparing to this gigantic universe structure, we nobody. If you stand outside the universe and you look through the earth is like the little, like this, like the tennis ball in your hand. You standing here from the moon, you look at the earth. And 7 billion of us are here just like a little ant going around killing each other for no reason. And eventually this earth, planet Earth, will break apart, will burn out. Everyone die, every being die. What about us now as a human being, as an individual, that we're so proud of ourselves, our ego is so big, we want to do a lot of things, we want to take advantage of a lot of people. If the earth's gonna break apart, you yourself will break apart as well. This is element. The big element fall apart. We are small element. We also subject to be falling apart as well. We cannot run away from this fact. And by reflect on this, somehow we slowly detach ourselves from whatever we try to cling on. The concept of me, myself, this is mine, this is my country, your country, my religious, your religious. But we have to reflect on this deeply until we get to the level of that understanding. What happens if you can let go this body, this fire aggregate? You cannot control it to get old, to get sick, to die. Tonight, if you meditate without paying attention to this physical body, your mind will come back. You cling on nothing, let it die. Nothing you can do about it. You don't know when death is coming. But if you understand that you cannot cling on it, you can cling on it, but you're not supposed to, and you are not able to control it, because in fact they are not yours. They're just the five aggregate. They're just the five aggregate which make by these 4 elements. So if you let go of the body, your concentration will be much better. Your meditation, your samadhi will come. This is the beauty of understanding this, of how can we apply what we learn. If you let go, your samadhi will happen. Your concentration will happen. Then you can go deeper and deeper in your samadhi because you let go of this physical body. And this is happened to many people in the past. When they are serious about meditation, when they sit, they make a vow to let go of the body. That means they're ready to die. But it doesn't mean you will die, right? You just sit, okay, and enjoy the sitting. But this is something that you can play with your own mind. Just let go of the body. Die or not, nothing you can do about it. So why don't you bring the mind back? Let go of this body and just sit. And then the idea of me and mine, okay, this thing will eventually fade away. You can let go the concept of self. And here is the idea of the five aggregate that Sariputta mentioned a little bit. Okay, as you can see here, where is Mary? Where is John here? They just the set of aggregate. They just the four elements that stay together with condition. They depend on this condition. And when this earth element, if you stop feeding earth element into your body, stop eating rice, you die. If you stop input the air element into your body, you stop breathing, you die. You see, we rely on this element, and this element, they are impure. That's why we have to keep on intake it, release it, and take a new one and release it. The body is impure. They are impure. I found this picture somewhere in Indonesia, in the Chinese temple. So I took it myself. I kind of like it. Stop แล้ว
Start it full.
อ๋อโอเคไม่เป็นไรเดี๋ยวค่อยไปลบ Okay, thank you. And here are some terms. Okay, body and mind, right? This is body or the form, and the mind has four parts. Form is again earth, water, wind, fire. This is where Sariputta emphasized. Okay, earth, water, fire, and air make us form. Okay, and once we understand how the form work, okay, we also can apply to all of this as well. Feeling also impermanent, perception also impermanent. Okay, mental formation or the way you think also impermanent, and consciousness also impermanent. So the topic of five aggregate to me is a big topic. We can talk about this in separate section. I don't want to assume that everyone understands. Okay, so we will come back to this topic, okay, in the later session. Why we feel what we feel. When we see things, when we hear things, Sariputta points to that in this aggregate. Okay, every lifetime that we born with the form, we born with these four elements, but the four elements is not us. They are real, but they're not real. It's just the process. All of this, they are considered as a process. Form is a process of the four elements stay together. Eventually it fade away, it break apart. Feeling also the process of how we feel things. Perception is also the process. They work independently. We are here as a process, and they work independently. There is no one authority that controls this. There is no permanent self. The idea of self come from where? Come from wrong thinking. That I feel this, I see that, I hear this, I hear that. But in the reality, in the eye of enlightened person, there is no one see nothing. No one feel nothing. It's just a process. This body, these five aggregate, it stays together with condition. And the reason we feel suffering because we have ear, we have eye, we have nose, and when in this door, when it sends something when you intake information from the outside world into the inner world, the eye see form, the ear hear the sound, right? It's go to your ear, and with your consciousness, you know what that sounds mean. You know what you see. Is it a woman, a boy, a girl, father, mother? Your perception, you perceive. This is how you perceive the world. And when you perceive that information, it's usually come with feeling. After that, when you see things, you always either feel pleasure, unpleasure, you like or you don't like, or you feel neutral. If you like something, okay, underneath that is driven by lust, by greed. If you don't like something, it also is driven by hate or by anger. And if you feel neutral, it doesn't mean it's always good. That means you don't know what to do. So it's driven by ignorance. And this is why rebirth is suffering. Because every time we see something, the feeling of self, of I see thing, of I like thing, I don't like thing happen all the time, happen very quickly. When is the sense of being self arise in us? If you think deeper, when did you feel like this is mine? Maybe the moment we born, and how come we think like that? Is it normal or is it abnormal? And why the Buddha point us to be careful of clinging on these five aggregates as self, as you are the person who feel things, see things. That is why this sutra is profound. You have to read it more than one time, okay, to grasp the essence of what Sariputta tried to explain here. Okay, so back to here, I hope you can relate it to what Luang Pi pinpoint at the beginning of how the sutra goes. So from the Four Noble Truths, okay, there are four things, right? Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, and the Magga, right? How to end suffering. And in these Four Noble Truths, which is the Buddha point that is very important, is the essence of his teaching. And Sariputta grabbed the first element of the Four Noble Truths, which is Dukkha. And then he explained grasping of the five aggregates is the root cause of suffering or Dukkha. And in these five aggregates, there must be something in these five aggregates that cause us suffering somewhere here, but we don't know what it is. And Sariputta take the form as an example, and he break down the form into four elements. He tried to show us there is no such thing called you, called I, called self. No self here. You shouldn't feel that you are the one who feel things, see things, because you are just the process of this phenomena, the process of feeling, the process of perception, the process of the mental formation, and the process of understanding or consciousness or knowing things. It's just a process. In the eye of the Sariputta, five aggregate is just it's non-substantiality. There's nothing. It's empty. You may feel like, oh, I'm not empty, I'm here, but that's how he sees it, is emptiness. So there is nothing here that you can control. If it is really yourself, then you can control it. But it's not. It's just the element, the four element. That is why nothing much we can do. It's gonna fall apart because of this law of nature. Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta. Being individual, I, okay, this is five aggregates. We cling on these five aggregates so much. That's how the feeling of being self, the feeling of I or myself come to be in here, somewhere here. And when you break it apart, where is actually you? Where is actually Ven.Narongchai? Is it my hand, my eye, my ear? There is no, I cannot find Ven.Narongchai here. It's just the element. Same thing as you. You just, your father call you Luang Pi, Thomas. It's just the conventional name. But the ultimate truth is what exactly is you. Where is us here, right? There's no us. Okay, so you may be a little bit confusing. It's okay. That's why I said this sutra is profound, and this is how he explained the Four Noble Truths to the monk who happened to be, I think, the group of intelligent monks, to understand how clinging of the five aggregates come to be, and how can we let go that if we break it down to the four elements. So he starts from the earth element first, and then he go on to the fire element, wind element later on. But emphasize on the earth element because it's easy to relate it to. So he take time on this particular factor of the four elements. And when we break down the earth element, interior and exterior, okay, me and the tree, we are the same, we related. Just like the food that I gave example. The air that we breathe is the same air that you breathe. When you breathe out, I breathe in your air. So we exchange, you and me. Like we drink the same water, we share the same temperature. And when we die, burn the body, go back to the nature. And the nature come back to us, to the new form of life, and keep on continuing. Where exactly is Luang Pi Narongchai? I don't know. Can you pinpoint? Okay, so I think maybe we can stop for now. We come back to this idea of the five aggregate next session. This is too much information. Any thought, suggestion, comment? And the teaching of the Buddha mean to reflect regularly, okay, not just one time. That's why we chant every day about Chala Pitukkha, Maranang Pitukkha. This is the nature of life. This is the five aggregate, nothing that worth clinging on. But have to reflect regularly until you get to the supra-mundane right view to see things like this. This is higher wisdom. Ordinary people, we wouldn't get to this level of understanding. What is it that earth, water, wind, fire become me and I am nobody? ไม่เข้าใจ It's hard to understand. Okay, at least get to hear it, okay, and take it with you, digest it. This is not about you to believe, it's about you to know this information and digest it. Try to understand it to see if it helps you to lessen your suffering. When someone do something bad to you, if you look at them as one set of five aggregates, they composed of the four elements too. They're just an ignorant being, say something bad to you and move on with their life, the realm of suffering. So if you are the four elements, they also another set of four elements. But you happen to have more wisdom than them. With their ignorant mind, they may make a mistake, they may do something bad to you from time to time. Don't take things personal. It's just the phenomenon of the nature that people are so ignorant. They just do things without knowing the truth. So let it be. Understand it. Don't get too personal. So by thinking like this, I think this is a beauty way of thinking when dealing with conflict or criticism. Who get the benefit? We get benefit, right? We don't get agitated. We don't be too much suffering of what people say about us. So Sariputta also pinpoint something like this in this sutra as well. When you someone hurt you, okay, physically or verbally, you look at them as the element. It's hard to see people as element. You still see them, and that person yelling at me. See, me is here. Me, mine. This is the cause of suffering. You cling on this five aggregate. This aggregate is me. I am Thomas. Don't say that to me. I cannot accept that. And I have to do something about it. In this teaching, we should think deeper that okay, we just the aggregate. They also just an aggregate, an ignorant aggregate. Say something bad and then move on and say something bad to others. So then don't take it personal. It's the nature of life. It's the nature of phenomenon. Then we can let go, come back and meditate and being sabai, being relaxed. Alright? Okay, let's stop here.